Hey everyone! Before the day is over, you're going to be the world's expert on the grammar form 더니, or your money back. Except not you two who donated, but everyone else. The way to make this form is extremely simple. You take any verb stem, no exceptions, and you attach 더니 to the end. And that's it! So, what is this form? It's actually comprised of two pieces. You don't really need to know this, but because it's one of my lessons, I'm going to tell you anyway. 더. Anytime you see any grammar form with 더, it means past tense that you personally witnessed or experienced. And then what is 니? 니. You probably know this grammar form in 으니까, meaning because, or just after doing something I realized. So if we put this together, it's basically like saying something was or something happened and I realized. This is for recalling something in the past tense. It's not just saying something happened, but like, oh yeah, I remember. And then this. So what does this form do? It adds contrast to the sentence by separating your sentence into two parts. So the part before 더니 and the part after 더니, it gives them some contrast. But the type of contrast it has is what's unique. It is used to emphasize that whatever comes after is something in the past, again, that was surprising or unexpected. You can kind of think of this as meaning and then, but it's like, and then something unexpected, and then something surprising. So how do we translate this then? This will translate naturally a few different ways. So first is just our default meaning of and then. But the nuance this has is kind of more like saying, because we're talking about something unexpected or surprising, it's kind of like, and what do you know, but, and it was surprising, right? We might say that, and what do you know, but this happened. Or simply because you're saying that there was some sort of result that happened that was surprising, but you can simply also just translate it as because of whatever happened, or, and now, like that happened, and then now, kind of like and then, but it's just a way of telling a story. But now, for example, I opened the window because it was a bit hot, and now it's too cold. Or, but now it's too cold. Or, and, but, what was unexpected or what was surprising was, or, and as a result. So I opened up the window because it was a bit hot, and as a result, now it's too cold. So there are a lot of ways you can translate this form, and this is why this form can be tricky to teach or to learn, because it seems like these are different meanings, but there's something else that I think should help make it make more sense. The core point of the 더니 form is that the nuance of the form is kind of like you're telling a story. So when you're telling a story, you're going to start by saying, a man dug 5 feet into his kitchen and you'll never believe what he found, or something like that. You might start a story with like, so this happened. And the key point is, oh wait, I'm already out of space. Let me make some more space. So you see, so this happened, again, happened. It's past tense because it has 더. So it's past tense. You're telling a story of something that already was or already happened. So this happened and you'll never believe what happened next. Like I'm going to tell you something that's unexpected or surprising that happened after. Now, it doesn't have to be necessarily something crazy. Like when you're using clickbait, it's something unexpected. Yes. If a guy dug 5 feet into his kitchen and, burst a water main, that's unexpected, but it's not like crazy. And that's the same thing with this form. It's simply something that's unexpected or surprising, but you're telling it like a story. You're like, hey, so you see what happened is this, and then what happened is that. So by doing that, you get all of our translations in here. And what was unexpected or surprising was, or, and now, or, but now, or, and what do you know, but, as well as our meanings of because, or, and as a result. So a man dug 5 feet into his kitchen and as a result, the water main burst, like that. So this form at its core is like a storytelling form that's kind of like saying something happened and then something else happened, which was surprising or unexpected. So that's how this form is used. But there are a couple rules you have to learn with it. If you're using this with an action verb, so like 하다 becomes 하더니 or 가다 becomes 가더니, like that, you're most often going to just use the present tense stem. So again, 하다 is just 하더니, but you could also use this with a past tense stem. For example, 하다 normally conjugates as like 했어요, right? So you get 했더니. You could use it like that with an action verb. Normally we're talking about a past event because this, 더, already makes it past tense. You don't need to use the past tense stem, but you can. The main reason you would probably add the past tense is if you wanted to emphasize that the action happened only after the action had completed. So if you said 했더니 instead of 하더니, it's like, so this happened, and then after that happened, then this happened. Most of the time, you do not need to use that. We'll talk about when you do use that in a second as well. But generally, when you're making a sentence, you're talking about someone else, you don't need to use the past tense stem. You can just use the regular stem because 더 already has the past tense meaning. Also, for descriptive verbs, you only use the regular present tense stem. There's one more thing you have to know. When you're talking about something that you did yourself, so using first person to say like I or me, you have to actually use the past tense stem, which is going to be this double letter right here and then 더니. So you conjugate a verb to the past tense, remove everything after here, and then attach 더니. So if you see a sentence with this, most of the time it's just going to be talking about I, me. It's first person. Let's do a few example sentences. 조금, a little bit. 조금 더워서. This is 덥다, to be hot. You feel hot. Because I felt a bit hot, 창문을 열어놨더니. So this is 열어놓다, to open and leave it open. So I opened the window because it was a bit hot. 더니. And hey, you know what happened was 너무 추워요. And it's so cold. It's too cold. 조금 더워서 창문을 열어놨더니 너무 추워요. In this case, we see here it has the past tense. So we can know right away, since there's no other subject, this is talking about the speaker. This is the speaker saying, I felt a bit hot, so I opened the window, and then as a result, it's too cold. So I was a bit hot and opened up the window, and now it's too cold. 매일, every day, 디저트, dessert. 매일 디저트를 먹었더니. So I ate dessert every single day, and as a result, you know, what happened was 살이 쪘어요. I gained weight. So I ate dessert every day, and you know what happened? I gained weight. 매일 디저트를 먹었더니 살이 쪘어요. So it's kind of surprising. It's still unexpected to the speaker. So it's like, so this person ate dessert every single day, and you'll never believe what happened to them. And you click the article, and it's literally like, they gained 50 pounds. Like, duh. It's still expressing that it's something kind of unexpected, even though it's obviously not, because it's a storytelling form. 친구한테. So to my friend, 오늘 말고. So not today, but 내일, tomorrow. 보자고. 보다 is to see, but it's also how you can say to meet someone, like meet up with. Let's see each other, basically, let's meet. Tomorrow, not today. 했더니. So this is 말했더니. 보자고 했더니. So I told my friend, let's meet tomorrow, not today, or let's meet tomorrow instead of today. 화를 냈어요. So 화를 내다 is to get angry. So they got mad. So I told my friend, let's meet tomorrow instead of today, and they got mad at me. 아이가, so the child, 책을 읽는 신용. 신용 is pretending to do something. So 신용을 하다, to pretend to, 책을 읽다, to read a book. So since it is 하더니 here, we know that it's not talking about the speaker. So the child was pretending to read a book. 자리에 앉아서. So the kid sat down and started to read. 읽기 시작했어요. So they started to read. So they sat down and started to read. 아이가 책을 읽는 신용을 하더니 자리에 앉아서 읽기 시작했어요. So the child pretended to read a book and then sat down and started reading. 그 가게는, so that store, 주말에도, so on the weekends as well, 손님 is a guest or customer in this case. 손님이 없다. There are no customers. 없다고 하다. So says. They said 하더니. So that store said that there are no customers on the weekends either. And 결국, eventually, 문을 닫다, to close your doors, which is to close shop, to shut down. 그 가게는 주말에도 손님이 없다고 하더니 결국 문을 닫았어요. So that shop, they said that they don't have any customers on the weekend either. And eventually, they closed their doors. They shut down. 하더니. So they said that they don't have any customers on the weekend either. And get this, eventually they shut down. 철수는, so our friend 철수, our best friend 철수. 매일, every day, 책만 읽더니. So Charsu was reading books every single day. All he does is just read books every day. And you know what? 도서관에서 일해요. 도서관 is library, so he works at the library. 철수는 매일 책만 읽더니 도서관에서 일해요. Charsu read only books every day, and now he works at the library. If you take a plain form, and if you were to make a quote with it, normally you would take like the verb 하다, and you would get 한다. And then when you're making a quote, you would add, 한다, 고, and then whatever verb you want to do. We're not going to do that part of it. We're just going to go up to here. 한다. So basically it's the same as plain form so far. And then we attach 더니 onto that. This is a simple shortening of this form. 한다고, or whatever verb you have, 다고 하더니, which is 말하더니. So someone says that whatever verb. It's a shortened version of saying someone said something and then 더니. And guess what? And as a result, or anything like that. All it does is adds the meaning of a quoting form. You can translate this as like you said, or they said, or whatever you want. You'll need context though to know exactly who you're talking about. But yeah, it's just someone says in the past tense. So let me give you just a couple examples. 하나도. This is used in negative sentences to say even one, but it's basically just a way of saying at all. In this case, 모르다, to not know. 모른다더니. So 모른다고 하더니. So someone said, you said, you don't even know anything. So you said you don't know anything. But hey, 더니. 하나도 모른다더니. 생각보다 more than expected. 잘하네. Hey, you're better than I thought. 하나도 모른다더니. 생각보다 잘하네. You said you don't know it all, but you're better than I thought. 배부르다, 배가 부르다 is to be full. 배부르다고 하더니. So you said that you are full. 배부르다더니. 왜? Why? 이렇게, like this, so much. 잘 먹다 is to eat well, which is to eat a lot. 왜 이렇게 잘 먹어요? 배부르다더니. 왜 이렇게 잘 먹어요? You said you're full, but why are you eating so well? You said that you're full, but then, hey, it's like you're telling a story. Hey, you said you're full, so then how come you're eating so well? So I said that form uses the quoting plain form, which looks exactly like the regular plain form, but there's two differences, and that is with the verb 이다, to be. When you make a quote using 이다, you don't use the plain form of it. You don't use 이다고. You'll use 이라고 after a consonant or 라고 after a vowel. And then you would do 하다. So you'd get originally 하더니, right? 이라고 하더니, which shortens to 이라더니. Now this will be 이라더니 after a consonant, just like before, or just 라더니 after a vowel. This will always follow a noun since it's the verb 이다. So if you want to say, you said that something is, and then, hey, you have to use 이라더니. The same goes for the verb 아니다, 아니라더니, because it would originally be 아니라고 하더니. So 아니라더니. So I have just a couple example sentences. If you want to use an idiom in Korean, you don't simply just say the idiom. And we don't do that in English either. 싼 게 비지떡 is an idiom that means you get what you pay for. Usually in English, we're not just going to go up to our friend and be like, you get what you pay for. You could do that, but you'd probably lose your friend. But you're probably going to be like, you know what they say, you get what you pay for. And that makes sense why it's broken already. You want to say, like, hey, you know what they say? 이라더니. They say, in this case, 이다. It is, you get what you pay for. And 벌써 already 망가졌어요. It's already broken. 싼 게 비지떡 is an expression that literally just means, cheap things are 비지, rice cake. When you make tofu, you get this leftover stuff from it. So if you make 떡 out of that, it's like super low quality 떡. So they say cheap things are 비지, rice cake. So they say you get what you pay for, and hey, you know what? What do you know? It's already broke. 싼 게 비지떡이라더니 벌써 망가졌어요. So this 더니 form with a quote is a common way of using an idiom in regular Korean speech. So if you just know this form, 다더니 or 이라더니, you can now use an idiom in actual conversation instead of just slapping the idiom and walking away. 유기농, organic. 이라더니, so 이라고 하더니. So they said, someone said, or you said this is organic. 하, all of it. 거짓말, lies 이었어요. It was all lies. You said this is all organic, or they said it's all organic, but it was all a lie. 유기농이라더니 다 거짓말이었어요. They said this is organic, but it was all a lie. So that is our lesson. Thank you everyone for coming, and I'll see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.